Hello.
Hello.
We want to start right off the bat with a little preamble/disclaimer. This is a podcast about recovery, ran by two comedians in recovery. That's it. Everything we say is based on our personal recovery journey.
And no matter where you are in your personal recovery journey, whether you're actively engaging in your addiction or 4 years in, you are welcome to listen.
But that being said, we're not trained to handle a crisis. We're not trained to handle anything, honestly.
If you can't tell, this podcast is pretty hard to manage for us.
But if you are in a crisis, check out the show notes for some trusted resources that may help you and keep fighting the good fight.
Axios.
And now for the show.
Functioning.
Examples of functioning. Navigational sensors aren't functioning. Glad to see you still fully functioning.
Hey, sorry about that. I was waiting on a link. But here we are.
Linkless in Seattle. Right? That movie?
Yeah, I remember.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
With Tom Hanks? T. Hanks?
I don't think I actually saw that one. Wait, is that he's Fox? He's like a book guy?
I don't know. I don't remember. It came out in the 90s. It's a Nora Ephron thing.
I don't know who that is.
She's, it doesn't matter.
Okay, great.
Nothing matters.
All right.
Anyways, what's up?
All right. Well, let's do it, I guess.
Nice warm up. That was nice. That was good.
Yeah, that's like a little zigzag Zoe where I feel real loose now. Let's yeah, how's it going?
I won tickets to a comedy show twice. Remember I told you this I told you about this a couple like a month ago or something like that. I won tickets to a comedy show at the Lincoln Lodge, which is like one of the best comedy shows, or like one of the best comedy venues in Chicago, if not the best. And it was for a comedy show called The Blackout Diaries. And I won it again. That's twice. I don't ever win shit. I mean, like, I don't win anything. And I've won this twice. It's a show where people just talk about funny shit that happened to them when they were blacked out.
Well, how do they know?
How do they know of the funny shit that happened to them when they were blacked out?
Yeah, how many details are they just kind of filling in with funny knock-knocks?
I don't know. I didn't go. I don't know.
Fair enough. Because I mean, it makes me think like, man, when I was really blacked out in the memories that I have of that, it is a lot of filling in the blank of, okay, I walked down some stairs. Somehow I walked down some stairs and then I blinked and I was somewhere else. And then I blinked again and I was somehow driving a car. And then I blinked again and I was in someone's driveway backing out. And then I blinked again and I was home.
Yeah, mine was like, mine's very similar, except I blinked and then I was 35. Somehow, I don't know how I got here. I guess 33. That's when I got sober.
Are you? Yeah. By the way, how are you doing with that whole, living with regret thing?
Well, I got a lot of, all 7 listeners, chimed in. Not really. A couple of them came in.
Yeah, not really. We don't have 7 listeners.
I don't know. Our streaming has gone down significantly since the hiatus.
Yeah, I wonder why. We got to rebrand or something and come back like, oh, this is a new podcast.
Yeah, like functioning the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was talking to Liz, my girlfriend, who is also sober, and she is big on, I never say this right, equanimity. I think that's it. Equanimity. And then I was actually listening to Prentice Hemphill, her new book, What It Takes to Heal, by Prentice Hemphill. Dude, that book, fucking banger. Just one banger after another. Dude, it is a bop. And she reiterates a lot of what you were saying about forgiveness, and how forgiveness is a practice, though. And this is the same as equanimity. This is something that Liz was talking about, how equanimity is this daily practice of understanding that really the main connecting point between all of us is that life is painful, and life is pain. We all experience pain in some way. And Prentice Hemphill kind of goes into this idea that forgiveness does release, it releases both people involved from that act, but it also allows for forgiveness to start coming into our day-to-day life. And that's essentially what equanimity is. It's about, this practice. Like, one really cool thing about that book, What It Takes to Heal, is that she talks about how everything is a practice. Like, that's what somatics teaches us, is that everything is a practice. So it isn't just like, going up and trying to get as much stage time as you can to get your reps in, or going to the gym, or even like writing. Even your thought process and the way that you move about the world, and things like forgiving and practicing righteous anger and practicing courage is a practice that takes time to implement, and nothing will change overnight. So to really make big changes, it takes those small changes. So, allowing forgiveness in small ways can lead to forgiveness in big ways. So I've been thinking about that a lot, especially today. And I think a lot of it is also rooted in this anger that I have in myself for not learning from the mistakes, right? Because that was what was wrong with drinking, was that I kept like learning the hard way over and over again. And then I would wake up the next morning hungover and be like, oh, I knew this. I already knew that I shouldn't do this. I knew it when I was doing it. And so there's like, now I'm at this point where I'm like, fuck, now the reckoning is here, and I gotta do all this work now, and I don't want to, and it sucks. And so, yeah, that's what's been going on. I've been thinking about courage a lot, and to implement courage is I don't know, courage is something that I really respect. To implement you know what I mean? Like, it takes courage to quit drinking, or to quit anything, or to start anything, to really make any sort of change. Takes courage, right? So, like in that book, she describes courage as the will to act despite pressure and risk. And it's like, it's about implementing the change from who we are to who we can be. right? So it's sort of like making these small changes takes courage. And that's also a practice to implement. And it's a state of being at the same time. She brings up this quote by Maya Angelou. Angelou? Angelou? You don't have to, this is going on video. You don't have to do the
Oh yeah, I was just saying Angelou.
Angelou?
Yeah, I think so. Whatever. You say whatever you want. Be courageous.
I mean, you go Angela High, I'll go Angelo.
Yeah.
You like that one. Anyways, rest in peace. Nikki Giovanni died, by the way, which is a super big bummer for anyone who didn't know. Sorry, this is how you found out. But
I don't know who's that.
Dude, man, look her up. She's a great, just an incredible American, like Black American poet. I met her when I was hold on. Maya Angelou quote is, "Courage is the most important of all virtues because without it, you can't practice any other virtue consistently." So to love and to have patience and any of these virtues takes courage. And I think that's where like a lot of my anger is rooted in, is that I had this courage, but I didn't implement it. And then I was stuck in this fear and this complacency. And that's why I'm so upset with myself. So I have to forgive myself for that. Okay, Nikki Giovanni, fucking amazing. She's an incredible poet. I met her in college, back when I was running a poetry jam at Georgia College and State University. She gave this incredible speech about Tupac and thug life and like being a person of now with living with no excuses, all this great stuff that I think about all the time. And you should definitely check her out. Everyone should check her out. She passed away at 82 recently.
Sounds good.
Thanks. You seem so interested.
I was looking at Thug Life is in The Hate You Give, Little Infants F's Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't cuss anymore. You don't cuss anymore, do you?
Trying not to.
She had it tattooed on the inside of her arm.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just learned that acronym recently, and I thought, oh, that's cool. Because I don't know. I have a weird relationship with Tupac, but I like that a lot.
You have a weird relationship with Tupac?
Yeah, because I don't know. I just like some of his stuff's good, and some of his stuff is like he's just kind of like making all this West Coast, East Coast thing a thing, and you're just like a theater kid and stuff. Like, you're a really good poet, and you're also acting like pretty incredibly rash and immature in a lot of these situations. So
I think that's just rooted in your general hatred for theater kids, which I share. I share a hatred for theater kids.
Yeah, that is true. You know what? Honestly, like, Tupac didn't have to do too much other than going to theater school for me to kind of go, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I mean, I think though when he went into music, he was a reformed theater kid. If he kept acting.
I think that he kept acting because he was an actor, and two, I think that whole like thug persona was like legitimately an act. And because of his acting, he like kind of accelerated the rivalry of the 90s.
I think we just lost like 3 of our viewers.
No. This, you know what? I was thinking about this earlier. Because no one listens to this is the time when we can say whatever we want. You know what? Like Tupac, he was a hypocrite and he was a great poet. I think both of those things can be true.
Hey, pull your mic away from your speakers a little bit.
Wait, here?
Yeah, because you're getting an echo a little bit. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to leave you. I'm going to leave that.
Hey, look, you know what? This is me practicing courage. I'm saying what like 2 of the 7 listeners probably think and deep in their hearts. Like, Tupac Shakur was a great poet, and he said a lot of things maybe he shouldn't have. And Suge Knight, or the man who's at large right now, Diddy, may have put a hit out on him for financial means.
You know what I hate about this whole Diddy thing? I mean, not the obvious, which is
yeah, I was gonna. Okay, yeah. What the other stuff? What about what?
You can't say Diddy anymore. Like, hey, listen to this little ditty, or I wrote a little ditty today, and then people are like, ooh, so now you like, what do I say? Jingle? That's different. That's a different thing. It's true. He ruined this like very simple word Diddy.
Just like never use the word Diddy in that context. That's such
I use it all the time. I'm constantly
like such
making
a
little
1970s dad thing to say.
What, the ditties? You don't make ditties? I'm always making ditties.
No, I don't I don't say anything to anybody ever, and much less ditties.
I mean, I guess if he had kept Puff Daddy, then we couldn't say daddy anymore, which would ruin the kink community.
Well, why don't you say, hey, you heard this little Puff Daddy? And just like really take it back. Take that back.
I don't know, man. I don't know about that one.
No, it's all about being courageous, right? We have to, give voice to the voiceless.
Be bold. Be bold to be bold enough to Puff Daddy your music.
I'm gonna start doing stand up again, and that's gonna be my opening. I'm gonna tell a couple Puff Daddies, and I'm out of here. All right, guys.
Oof, I don't know. We just lost 2 more of our listeners, so now we're down to 0.
No, we're losing viewers to make room for the right ones. All right, the ones that are going to say, you know what, those guys, I don't know what they're saying about Tupac, but I do like some Puff Daddies, and those guys are going to come in. Maybe maybe FetLife will be interested in this podcast.
I would be okay with that, or like Field or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm still getting a reverb. You could maybe, I don't know, are you in a very echoey room? There you go. Is that better?
I don't know. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
That seems better.
Okay. Getting excited, and that's my fault.
I mean, I know you don't like to put things in your room, so it's probably very echoey in there.
It is very echoey in this room. I also haven't said anything to anybody today, so I'm getting a little just like feeling it right now.
What? Why?
I've been doing exams. I've been to the library. I said nothing to anybody. It was great.
You didn't even say hey to like the checkout, the librarian?
What is it? The school library. No one looks up at you. You just walk in and you go, yeah.
To be honest, theater kids and librarians, 2 of my least favorite types of people. I'm not going to lie. They're always in the stacks. They're always telling you to not talk. They're the keepers of knowledge. They stop you from getting knowledge. Yeah,
they're like Hellenic mystery school keepers.
That's literally the definition of most fascist dictators. They restrict knowledge. They don't let you speak out. And they're always like hiding and like peeking behind like little book. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. I know that the public library is a great place that I don't like to go to, but I do support it as an institution. I just think everything should be like self-service. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about how to survive the holidays, right?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Look, guys, be courageous this holiday season.
Hate on librarians. Say what you shouldn't say. Bring to light Tupac's own acting, his own performance, and hate on that.
When your family is making you feel like reaching for a drink, reach for a Puff Daddy this season. I
don't know about that, man. I don't know about that.
Okay. If your uncle is trying to get you to, if your uncle's talking to you about politics and the cold, sweet release of alcohol or something comes to mind, just bring up Diddy once and your family will stop talking to you.
Yeah, don't call them Christmas carols. Call them Christmas ditties, and that'll just make everyone stop singing immediately.
Turn on a Diddy song. I don't know a single one off the top of my head, but just put it on this Christmas season and see what the family thinks.
There's the one that he did for the Godzilla soundtrack in 1998. That's the only one I know.
Well, yeah, that's him representing New York. So it's not Godzilla. It's New York.
There's New York State of Mind. Isn't that one of those?
No, that's Jay-Z, but he's come under fire too. So shout out Beyonce. Now I think that it would be fun to put on a Diddy song this holiday season and then actually use the word and go like, hey, have you heard this little ditty? And then see how people react to that.
Have you heard the conspiracy theory that Beyonce is the head of the Illuminati?
Conspiracy theory?
It's one of my favorites. It's up there with John Benet Ramsey as Lady Gaga. It's like one of my favorite conspiracy theories.
Well, that's amazing. I think that if Beyonce is a part of the Illuminati, there's only one way that we're going to find out for sure, and that is if she is not indicted in the lawsuits that are coming out in this Diddy case. If she doesn't catch any strays, then I think that there's enough evidence to at least state the obvious, which is she's a part of some kind of alien sex cult. And these are other things to bring up during the holidays with your family. Yeah,
this is great. When anytime your family starts talking about, Donald Trump or if they're like, what's a tariff? Then that's when you start bringing up these deeper questions, these deeper things. Like, this is what I hate, honestly, about Donald Trump is that conspiracies used to be fun. And then they started shooting at pizza places and stealing the election and like storming the Capitol. And now conspiracies aren't fun anymore. So try to put the fun back in conspiracies and just jump the shark, man. Just go wild with it.
My favorite conspiracy is one that I made up in high school when I was skipping class and I failed out of high school because I was working on this conspiracy theory. Scientology is the most on it with their knowledge, and they are ready to receive the alien invaders. And when they come, and they're already kind of here already, like they're extraterrestrial, interdimensional, Alex Jones type, they're already here. Tom Cruise has paid so much money that he will become the president of the one world government when the Xenu morph, whatever, take over. I'd like to offer that as that's a fun one. I don't know. I don't have a conclusion. That's my theory. My girlfriend also looked at me just blankly and just, I could see it in her eyes. She was like, how do I get out of this conversation? And also questioning a lot of decisions that I've made thus far.
Yeah. Like saying yes to, will you marry me? Yeah. I mean, it's not super creative. I feel like if Scientology is correct, then that seems like the very, like, I don't know. I'm not
here for criticism on like the creativity element. One, I was 17.
That's what I like about conspiracy theories. Like my favorite is the hollow earth theory, that there are like aliens that actually live within a entire other world that is actually on the other side of the Earth's crust. And that they had the Nords, which are like basically like Thor, and like most of the Norse gods are, no, that's different. Most of the Norse gods are actually like aliens that are called the Nords, which are these like ambivalent aliens that have been using our hollow earth as a sea base or as a base for this sector of the universe. And they would come and speak to the Vikings who found them, because the hole is actually through the North Pole to implement.
Yeah, okay.
And then that's why eventually Nazis found them on an expedition to the North Pole, and then they built a Nazi base on the other side there. And so in the Rockefeller building in New York City, if you type in a very special thing into the elevator, it goes down through the Earth's crust and opens up to this entire Nazi mega city that's on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
And that's where Santa Claus comes from, which brings us back to the subject of today, how to survive the holidays without drinking. Right?
So wait, is Santa Claus a Nazi or an alien?
Yes. No, totally. He watches you all the time. You better watch out. Yes, Santa Claus is a Nazi. Have you not seen Elf on the Shelf? Total fucking Nazi. He just sits there and he's just like a fucking spy to this guy who rewards you for being good based on what merit? On his own merit? That's fascism.
Speaking of aliens.
It's a cult of personality.
Speaking of aliens and fascism, and watching you all night, have you seen the New Jersey drones? And
yeah,
they are watching you as you sleep. I mean, literally, the only time that they're up is when you're sleeping.
More like the North Pole drones. Am I right? Am I right?
Well, you know what they say? They don't know where they're landing. They go out into the sea. So they could, for all we know, be going to Greenland or North Pole. I don't know why I added in there. But
because it's on the way. It's on the way. They probably go over Greenland.
We got to get gassed up in Greenland. But yeah, so this holiday season is an especially interesting one because there is the threat of alien fascist drones on the horizon, no pun intended, while you're still trying to stay sober. Isn't that fun?
I mean, I think it's a government operation because they fly by armories and different like government institutions, and they don't scramble jets.
It's completely the government knows what. It's funny like to read the YouTube comments on it because all the ones that have the most hits go. The government knows who this is. Like the government knows you don't ask us what this is. You know,
it's probably the government. I mean, it's just like what they did with the stealth bomber. Like the stealth bomber was reported for like I want to say like 10 years before it was unveiled, or like the SR-71, right? The SR-71 is the fastest jet ever made. It's the X-Man jet and X-Men jet. And it was like reported as a UFO for like something like 30 years or some shit. And they just kept it under wraps because it can get super high, it can go super fast, and it was taking photos of the USSR. So it's probably just some technology that they're not ready to unveil yet. I mean, there's that whole conspiracy that all technology that we get is actually like it's like
10 years old.
Yeah, it's like 10 or 20 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it trickles down and they unveil it when we're ready.
There was someone, I can't remember who said this, but they said something like, if you want to know the future, just go back to, or if you want to know like what the quote unquote plans of the Illuminati are, or like, you know, the government or whatever, watch movies from 20 years ago. 'Cause that's like whatever sci-fi movies that came out 20 years ago, that's kind of the plan is what we're moving toward.
The Day After Tomorrow came out in 2004.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're past
2024.
I think, isn't it funny? Like maybe aliens will become like, we'll just stop thinking about climate change because the government will go, but look at aliens. We're not going to do anything about climate change. Look at aliens over there.
Should we just, is this the alien aspect? Are we going to ever get to how to survive the holidays?
I don't know. Quit drinking and talk about aliens.
You're not wrong.
What? This is
wrong.
My AA, all right? Everybody comes in, everybody shuts up, and everybody listens to me talk about aliens.
AA stands for aliens and aliens. Aliens on top of aliens on top of aliens. That's AAA, baby.
for an hour, the only thing that y'all get to do is get up and refill your coffee while I talk about aliens.
I would love if you led a session and you're just like, yeah, so my story starts when I discovered aliens, and
that would be like a really funny share if you go in very just super serious with how you deliver these lines. And like, you know, because they'll say if it's your first meeting, you have to talk or whatever. You go.
I don't
up
think they
and
say that anymore. I don't know.
That's what they did to me. I had to get up in there and chair and stuff, and I had to go. I don't want to be here.
They didn't do that to me, but I usually had a very angry mug on my face, so I didn't try.
I thought that that's what my face usually looked like, but apparently it didn't that night. My scowl is so, like, my default face is not very inviting, as my fiance has told me numerous times. But anyway, you go up to share. This could be something fun if you're like doing AA around the holidays. You have to go home. You're like, I don't want to.
Oh yeah, you got to drop in on some meetings. Yeah,
drop in on some meetings. Throw out some weird theories, and also
some meetings.
Yeah, tell people at your meetings back home about this podcast, and also about the alien threat that is impending, and also that if you're having a hard time.
That actually kind of goes into what I wanted to talk about today, which is one of the tactics to survive the holidays, especially if you're seeing your family or something like that, is don't be afraid to remind everyone that you're sober. To implement. And I think if you start talking about aliens and you start saying some crazy shit about Hollow Earth, you could really punctuate it by being like, now, mind you, I'm sober. I'm fucking stone cold sober. I'm not fucking with you. I'm not crazy.
This isn't like last time, guys. I'm sober this time, and I have some news that I need you all to listen to.
Yeah, and I think it's also,
look, this isn't like 5 years ago when I was trying to convince y'all that Obama was Hitler. All right, this is different. Aliens are in New Jersey, and yeah, look at my chip. 4 years. Aliens have been in New Jersey for I don't know how long. Probably before I got sober.
And I'm keeping up with it because I'm sober. I have so much time. And this is what happens when you find clarity. This is the clarity talking. The clarity means my eyes have been open to the truth. And the truth is that there are aliens living within a hole in the hollow earth that in our own hollow earth. Santa Claus is an alien. That is clarity speaking. And mind you, I'm sober.
You come to my house, I will show you how much corkboard and red string beer money will buy.
Exactly. That also brings me up to my next point is always have a way out. So, drive yourself. That's something that I think is important. Or if you take a trip in a plane and someone's going to come pick you up, like maybe drop some money and rent a car or something like that. You don't have to stay with family. You don't have to stay with friends. Go find yourself a place where you can make your own little sanctuary, like a hotel or an Airbnb or some shit. Don't be afraid to set those boundaries and make sure that you build yourself a little sanctuary where you have your own corkboard, your own red thread, your own push pins, and you can start really focusing on what matters, which is getting down to the bottom of what is out there. What is going on with our government? How are these impossible things happening day after day with no explanation unless it is done by some sort of extraterrestrial super government that's controlling our own world government?
Just because it's the holidays doesn't mean the investigation stops.
Exactly. Exactly. If anything, it gives you more time to amp up the investigation, which brings me up to another point that I really want to get into is this is a good time to practice the beautiful art of being completely alone without being lonely because
They're watching you.
truthfully, they're watching you. You're never alone. Once you accept that, you'll realize that no matter what, you are absolutely never, ever, 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 ever alone. So do something cool. Research all of the shit that we're talking about. It's all over Wikipedia. I'm sure there's some websites on bodybuilding.com/follow earth /aliens /Santa Claus is a Nord alien.
Thanks for plugging my website.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Subscribe to Thomas's Substack. You could read a book on this. I think a good one was The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is, I think, about
So good.
yeah. Oh my God.
Really,
Yeah.
really fascinating book.
Mm-hmm. It kind of talks about how all of the industrialists in the 1900s got together to basically form a secret government, and then that eventually became Citizens United, which sounds cooler than it is. Or you could start a podcast and talk about all this shit like we're doing, promote your podcast, promote our podcast and your podcast, and we'll promote your podcast and our podcast. And then we could be podcast buddies, podcast pals. That's all of my suggestions.
Is that all the holiday advice?
No. I mean, there's more. I have tons. I think the biggest one is, and I think you'll be saying this a lot, especially when people are like, when you're saying these things about aliens or Hollow Earth, and then people are like, "Are you fucking insane?" or like, "Do you even know what you're talking about?" Or, "Hey, do you want some whiskey?" Learn to enjoy saying no. There's this really cool like doo-wop song that's like no. You know that song?
No, I don't know that song.
Dude, I love it. I listen to it all the time. Yeah, get into it. Get into saying no. Find new ways to say no. No, nah, I don't wanna, fuck that.
9, niet.
9, niet, nope, or in Spanish, no. I don't know any other no's. Yeah. I think, that's something to embrace. I fucking love saying no. And I think it's also a great opportunity to start pounding those NAs. Just start NA is non-alcoholic beer. I can tell by the look on your face. You're like,
for some reason I went pounding Nas, but yeah, okay.
Nas was Puff Daddy's protege for a while. Remember that? It was big.
But then there was some real beef between him and Rockefeller, right? Him and Jay-Z got into it.
I don't know.
Jay-Z put out an album called The Blueprint, but KRS-One had already put out an album called The Blueprint, and then Nas put out this great song called Ether, which I recommend. Look, Space is fake, and Nas is the best rapper. These are facts, okay?
Space is fake. Nas is the realest motherfucker there is.
If you all look, I mean, this holiday season, Jay-Z's being indicted on charges that are not fun to talk about. But remember this, Nas buried him back in like 2001 on this song called Ether, maybe 2003. But if you go and listen to it, Ether by Nas, it's great. Jay-Z sucks. And down with the Rockefeller institution, both Rockefeller and this whole Illuminati Beyonce creature from Jekyll Island. The tentacles go everywhere. Say no to whiskey and just, say no to all that other stuff.
It's true. You know what happened to Nas? I think I remember this.
What?
He became a preacher.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, he's a preacher. He came out with a song, I want to say in, I don't know, 2012 or some shit, sometime around there. Yeah,
It's a good year.
he's like a preacher, man. Not a
I
preacher
didn't know
man. He's a preacher, comma man.
that. Well, good for Nas. Like, see, Nas is the best of us. He is.
He saw it.
He's
I
the
think it proves your point because Nas saw it 20 years ago. He distanced himself from the ditty and stopped making his own ditties and started becoming his own daddy. Let's have a moment of silence for that joke that killed the podcast. Let's have a moment of silence for what used to be this podcast to implement.
No, that's like in Tough Crowd where Patrice would just say something like, just not like, let that joke bomb. Listen to their silence. Just feel this.
Embrace the silence.
Embrace the silence.
Yeah, I do remember that advice from stand up is embracing the silence. I think it's like about like not trying to fill in all the time and just like
That's
letting
true.
the crowd sit there.
Yeah, Joel Byers had that. It wasn't necessarily advice, but it was like a supplement to the advice where, suggesting to sit in the silence. And he would say something to the effect of, when there's silence, that means they're listening. So
I mean, he's not wrong. Yeah.
I mean, he is wrong. Sometimes they're waiting for you to say something funny, but
Yeah.
they are listening. So there is that. Sometimes when you say something and like you get to a punchline and it's clear that the audience is still listening for you to do a punchline, that hurts. That you can feel that. You can feel that years after quitting stand up.
If I remember right, Joel Byers, he listened to a lot of silence himself.
But now he's doing well, I think.
I don't know.
As far as I know,
he was doing pretty good. He was, I think
he's got his podcast, which neither of us will ever be guests on.
Yeah, well, not after that statement.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to walk it back. Joel wasn't he's not an enemy.
No, he's not. He's great.
Well, all right.
I don't have anything against him. I don't know how to not. I just didn't know him that well.
Joel Byers, his laugh that you got when you were bombing at Limerick, you just stand in the back going, ah!
Oh,
you
yeah.
hear that? Oh, man, that's like you just wanted to leave the stage right away. Go,
well, you know what? Yeah, I didn't like that. Fuck Joe Byers for doing that.
No, that made you better. Like this is the thing. It's a look. Stand up, like forgiveness, is a practice. Sometimes people test you, and you gotta.
Yeah. I have some more advice about how to survive the holidays.
All right.
I think this is a great segue, which is call on your community. Give those old reliable friends a little warning that you might need a little extra support this time of year, especially like if your family sucks, like mine, or like yours. Do you if your family is just god awful, have that friend nearby on your phone who's like gonna call and you can talk to and just like have that like lifeline of sanity.
What if your friends are alcoholics and or drug addicts?
Well, that's okay. That goes back to setting boundaries.
Okay.
See, I think once you start setting boundaries like, hey, don't be fucked up all the time. Like the cool thing about setting boundaries is it's like a litmus test on who's cool and who's not.
Oh, that's a good point. Oh.
So like when you say no and someone's like a dick about it, then fucking snip, get rid of them.
It's really hard when someone calls you and they're your friend and stuff, and you maybe not know it right away, but as you listen to them, you can slowly tell like, oh man, you're kind of messed up right now. And that's not, this conversation is becoming less and less fun for me to be a part of.
Well, yeah, but a friend, like a good friend, knowing that you're in recovery wouldn't call you fucked up.
I think that people who are still, well, this isn't fair. This isn't a generalization, but it's going to sound like it. But some people don't recognize the kind of the difficulty and or significance of your recovery, and some people just aren't. But from my experience, people like some people will be quicker to get sloshed and say, I'm so proud of you for your recovery, than they would ever try to have a conversation with me sober.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that's cool about being really open about your sobriety. Like when you're like, and mind you, I'm completely sober. The clarity has opened me up to talk about aliens.
Look,
is that it kind of gives people a way to rethink their own relationship to alcohol or whatever. Because they'll
can see that the moon is fake, and he's like full hearts, clear eyes, can't moon. I can be like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. If your friends are still like getting fucked up, then I would assume that they're not. You got to call on your reliable friends.
But see, that's the challenge with people like myself, and I assume at least a percentage of the small viewership that we have, which is like, you're my only friend. You know what I mean?
Well, you should work on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not good. Like, you're great. You are great.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Thank you.
There needs to be a little bit more people in the stable here.
Yeah, I think talking to more people at the library will help.
People don't want to talk at the library.
Well, just
go up and, hey, what are you reading?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't.
I definitely use that accent that came out for some reason. And I think it'll really open some people up. They'll be like,
the accent came out because even in my head, like the imagination, I was scared to approach somebody to have a conversation in real life.
I mean, pretend to be someone else if that helps.
Yeah, yo, hey, I'm Chuck Buffkin over here.
Yeah, I forgot about Chuck Buffkin. Yeah. Yeah. You're like, what's going on? Gabagool or whatever. I don't know. My Italian turns into Dracula every time. Every time. This is why I had to stop doing improv, is because I can't do accents. And anytime my Italian turns into Dracula, and anytime I do any other accent, it always slips into like an Indian accent, and I sound.
Oh, what?
I know. I don't know why. I'll be like, top of the morning to you, and then within one sentence, I will start being incredibly racist, and like
from The Simpsons immediately.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't hear it. People will be like, "No, stop."
Yeah, okay, stop.
And I just can't. I can't do it. And then my improv teachers were like, Jody, do the accent. And I'd be like, I can't.
You gotta give the people what they want.
Yeah, I will. No, they don't want me to do that accent. I'll be like in a scene. Everyone in the scene is French or something. And I'll come up and be like, hey, what's up? I'm French. And they'll be like, Jody, you got to do the French accent. And then I'll do for a little bit. And then eventually I just sound like I'm doing like a facsimile of an Indian accent. I don't know why.
It's like,
I don't know why. I think it's because I'm Southern. I'm just in like it's inherently racist or something. I don't know.
Look, guys, I'm sorry. It's just a part of my vocal cords and the structure of my nervous system. If we start having fun, I will become racist.
In that sense, it is heritage, not hatred. In that sense, it's the only time it works.
Yeah. It's not hatred. We're just having fun, guys. Come on. We're having a good time. Look,
I culturally learned it. I don't know how to stop. I'm trying to change. I have the courage to change, That's why I quit. That's why I quit doing improv. I had the courage to quit doing improv.
Wow. You know what? Usually people say things like, I had to quit drinking because I kept doing an Indian accent while I was out. But you went a totally different way with it.
Oh my God. What an insane like tick for drinking. Like what if just like, oh man, Tom's drunk again because he's suddenly speaking in a weird Indian accent, or he sounds like Dracula. Like
Oh yeah. Hey, how drunk is Tom like drinking tonight? How is he? Is he doing Dracula or is he doing the Indian stuff? Like that's the litmus test of how drunk you are. Is he cool to hang out with right now? Is he still doing the vampire shtick, or is he? How many has he had?
Yeah, you're like, hey Tom, how drunk are you? And he's like, oh, I've only had 3 beers. See, it started going into Indian, didn't it?
Oh, it was like immediately Indian. It took me a second to realize that you were doing Dracula.
Oh God, I was trying to do Dracula.
So funny. Like you just did Indian Dracula. That was insane. You really do need to stay away from improv comedy.
It's tough,
man.
It's tough.
That's hard. That is hard.
It's not even just like different. It's not like a French accent or an Irish accent. Like I was in a scene and everyone was like, "We're goblins," and fucking I was some sort of Indian goblin or some shit. I don't know what it is. I think it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I just avoid it. I'm just myself. I can't be any other character.
Really think it. I mean, it really. Look, guys, it keeps me embodied because if I go into any kind of accent work, I will immediately become racist and lose y'all as friends. So I have to really keep centered in my own body and be truly me. Because
it's true. It's true. I tell people that authenticity is key to my sobriety, but truthfully, it's because if I try to be anything else other than myself, it's just a racist presentation, and I can't. If
I try to do anything other than be completely and totally myself, then I will be an Indian Dracula. It's going to be very off-putting to everyone.
It sucks. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's like when I'm in client meetings and I have to kind of put on the airs and do my little show. I can't do it for too long, or I'll just start
start sounding like an Indian guy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
I mean, I do make a lot of like chana masala. I do eat that a lot, so I don't know.
I don't know if this is one of those.
I don't know why I shouldn't have said that. I
don't know why you've said that at all. It's like a wild thing to say. This does remind me of when I drank and I was at Limerick and I was getting real ahead of myself, and I would just like start shooting from the hip. And then, every third bullet is racist. But if I just keep going really quick, I'll get to the 4th one.
Thanks for listening to this podcast, everybody. Good night. Good night, everybody. No. It does bring me to my next point is holiday parties. They suck, especially company holiday parties. I'm actually skipping mine right now. It's happening right now. I skip them. Fuck it. But some people have to go to them. I know that in the past, people I've had to go to some, and they are the worst. They're usually at a bar. People, at least in advertising, people get super fucked up. Like very quickly. And it's like the only time most people in a business setting would learn that I'm actually in recovery. Like, I mean, sometimes I bring it up because I'll be like, oh, I have a podcast. And like, oh, what's your podcast about? And I'd be like, oh, it's about being sad and shit and stuff, but through a comedic lens. But yeah, I went to one holiday party when I was working at Havas, and the only non-alcoholic option was water.
Just tap water?
Just tap water in a tiny little Dixie cup.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was rough. I left within like an hour.
Yeah,
And
that's how you know
my
it's gonna be a
advice.
long night.
Say your hays and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Don't try to pretend like you're as drunk as everyone else. Don't go to the after party. Just get out of there. It's not worth it.
I'm sorry, I have to ask. And this is more of like maybe just wondering out loud.
Do I need to get out of there because eventually I'll start speaking
You're gonna
like
do Indian Dracula.
Is that what you're gonna say? Yeah. Yeah. I got about an hour at a holiday party, and then I got to leave before I
The
make an ass out
opposite
of
of a
myself.
drinking problem. Like, oh, I can't stay after a couple drinks because I'm gonna get wild. Like Jody can't stay after an hour because he turns into, it's not a pumpkin exactly. It's a
racist.
It's a racist. Now, by the way, I was wondering, Indian Dracula. I bet you. And this isn't racist. I think that this sticks with the kind of the societal structure of the caste system. Indian Dracula probably up there, probably a Brahmin, right? Probably doesn't.
Well,
go
Dracula's a count.
caste.
What's the Indian version of a count? I don't even
say count in an Indian accent, and that's probably.
I'm not even entirely sure what a count is. But
I don't know what a count is either. There's Count Dracula and Count Dooku, and then Count Chocula. But those are the only counts that I know.
And then the Count from Sesame Street.
Oh yeah, the Count. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's like a Duke.
No, but isn't the Count a Duke, or isn't a Duke a Duke?
I think it's like how every bourbon's a whiskey, but not every whiskey's a bourbon kind of situation. I don't know.
No, Bill, it's European. I guess there's no equivalent in India.
So here's a joke to tell when somebody is kind of giving you a hard time about being sober.
Just do an Indian accent at them and they'll leave.
No. Which will happen. This will happen. Like literally, last time I saw my family, my dad brought out the fancy whiskey and would just like poured everyone a glass, and then he even set mine out. I was 2 years sober, and I had to be like, no, and throughout the whole night, no, and he was like jingling the glass in front of me. I was like Jesus in the desert, man. It was ridiculous. But if this is happening, this is what you say to them. You say, if you're American outside of the bathroom, then what are you inside the bathroom? European. Tom's losing his shit right now. He loves that joke. What's great about it is it derails anything. It'll derail, like if you just beat him with absurdity, or just keep saying no, or turn it around and be like, what about me saying no is hard to understand?
That one, I think that one is the checkmate, because that makes anybody go, like, because that like hurts people in a weird way where they get really defensive and or just shut down. So,
well, usually they have to like face their own. That's because I've had people. I remember when I was in my 20s and I first got sober, people would get fucking pissed. Be like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I don't drink." Like, "What? You think you're better than us?" And the answer was yes. But like they would get just mad, and it's because they had to. Because every like heavy drinker has that little voice in the back of their head that's like, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. And it brings it to the forefront of their head because you're not joining the party.
Making people confront their own bad habits. My fiance and I were just talking about this because my grandparents sent me an article from the New York Post saying how men are converting to Eastern Orthodoxy because it's so masculine. And I replied saying something about like, no, I mean, it may be masculine from certain angles, but I think that it has a lot of other qualities.
How is a religion masculine or feminine? What is masculine about?
That's the thing. Like, that was I read the article, and it was so clear that it was like the article was biased in it, that it was saying Eastern Orthodoxy equals masculinity, which equals bad. So it was, I don't know, for whatever reason, it was trying to say that Orthodoxy was bad because young men are converting to it because it's more quote unquote masculine. And they said like arduous fasting seasons, the services last 2 hours and you have to stand up the whole time. And
so they're equating discipline with masculinity.
That's what the article was implying.
Or like neat, or like pain, I guess.
Yeah. They, like this
femininity is self-care, and
it was, yeah.
And then masculinity is self-hatred. Or I guess
it was a really weird article, and I wrote back my grandparents this really long thing about how that, like, this is my experience with the church, and they basically like they just sent me back a reply saying thanks for your perspective, and that was it. And
because isn't your dad like or isn't your granddad like wasn't he a preacher for something?
That's my mom's side. These guys are just Lutherans.
Lutherans.
So, but anyway, I told my fiance, I was like, yeah,
they're like
look,
the cops of Method. They're like the cops to Methodists.
Cops of Methodists.
Yeah. Lutherans are just Methodist cops, I
like that. But I showed my fiance, like, do you see this response? Because it was so like pithy, and it was just not like, we're just not engaging in a conversation. That's what that's just how it is with my family.
Is standing masculine? Because of peeing, I guess.
Apparently. But anyway, like
I've never seen a woman stand. It tracks. I've never seen one.
I've only carried women.
Yeah. So masculine.
There was this one time when I first started dating this. Whoa, I can't remember how long we were dating, but my girlfriend in high school, one of my girlfriends in high school, I carried her from her couch in her living room up her stairs to her bedroom because I thought it was like romantic or masculine or something. And halfway up the stairs, I was just giving out. I was like, you weigh basically how much I weigh. This is insane that you're allowing this to happen. I was like dropping her kind of the whole way up the stairs, and it proved to not be masculine at all. And
carrying people isn't masculine at all. I mean, case in point, one of my I can almost call it a kink, although it's not really a sexual inclination, but I do have this compulsion and this need to and this want to have people hop on my back like a piggyback and let me carry them so that I can make these large strides like a velociraptor. So I like to pretend, or like a tauntaun from Star Wars. So I like to pretend like I'm a velociraptor while they're riding on my back.
Okay.
And I can, like, because I hunch over and I can make these long strides. And so it's more, I guess.
Well, that's masculine.
It's more Jurassic than masculine, I would say.
You're right. Oh, yeah, you're right. More Jurassic than masculine. You're right. That's.
So I guess carrying people is more of a Jurassic trait.
Triassic. That's what I was trying to.
I couldn't think of any of the other ones. I don't know.
It's like Cretaceous,
Precambrian. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't. But anyway, my fiance was saying, a lot of times, like, people don't like the idea of church actually doing something in how it works with the Orthodox Church, because it does make you face yourself in a real way. It makes you
Oh
confront
yeah,
your
people don't like that. They don't like
people do
facing
not like
them.
that. That's why, like, it's way easier just to say I'm Presbyterian and I read books. That's what I do. But if you're like Orthodox, then you do come face to face with your limitations and your sin and stuff. And people really don't like to hear that that's what you're up to. One, um, and they don't. It doesn't like compute with them. So it's the same as saying like, "Hey, have you had enough to drink?" Where in their minds they're going, yeah, I'm probably drunk too much, but they have to exhibit some kind of control and say, I'll say when I'm done drinking, don't talk to me like that. And it's this weird thing where people don't want to have to confront maybe their own problems with drinking. So when you show up, your existence at all becomes a mirror that they avoid all the time.
Well, Prentice Hemphill says that in her book. The mirror scares us. I mean, it's the same reason why people lash out against like trans violence, is because they have their own fear of the softness within them, and that aspect of themselves where they're obsessed with masculinity within their own religion or whatever, where they're assigning sexual traits to practices, it's stuff like that where it's the mirror that scares them. It has nothing to do with the individual. And so that's why, like, when you say something like, hey, I'm actually sober, and then people have this visceral reaction, it's because they know that time will come. Or they'll be like, man, I've been thinking about quitting drinking, but I just got too much of my dad in me, or some shit like that. They'll make up some excuse, or they'll be like, but I don't know what do you do at the holiday party? Or like, how do you make friends? Like, they're scared of like the lifestyle change. I mean, it's all about fear and living within this fear. And then there's like, they're afraid to be afraid, if that makes any sense. Like, the fear of being afraid makes you double down on the delusion of not being afraid, that convinces you that you don't have to do the work, like standing for 2 hours or whatever. It's the same thing with like martial arts. Like Marvel movies, in my opinion, are super popular because people want to pretend like they have power, and they want to have power granted to them from some sort of like a spider that bit them. But martial arts makes you a superhero, but you have to work for it.
Yeah.
You have to put in your reps. You have to put in your practice. And that's no one wants to do that. They just want to watch TV and keep pretending. And it's that same thing.
It's the true change comes from embracing or entering the unknown. And it's super comfortable to go, well, I'm not going to do that. Or kind of what you're saying, where, I can simulate the unknown. I can have this kind of I can simulate having power instead of embracing my own power by stepping into an uncharted territory within myself.
Yeah.
So I can just kind of have it drilled into me by, some like Marvel movies, where I'm getting kind of this adjacent dopamine rush by feeling like, I'm that. But it's more just draining your own power than it is anything else.
Yeah, there's this little kid in my jujitsu class. He's got to be like 4 years old, and anytime he falls down, he like gets up and then he stomps the ground. He goes, "Gah, gah," and then he goes, "Ah!" like a fucking Super Saiyan. And then he like gets back into the fight. And I'm just like, man, I love that. That's cool.
Yeah, I wish we all did that.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk into my exams and go, it's like a Russian exam.
But I think that's what it's all this, like, it's that falsified power. Like, everyone wants to just like have their hair go blonde and like have a fire go around them, or like, something like there be Captain America for no reason.
You know
But
what
you,
would
like,
be
you gotta fall. You just gotta keep falling, and you gotta keep working. Yeah.
if someone offers you a drink this holiday season, just do that. Just
And then go,
do like
I'm
a
good.
fireball at them.
Yeah. Yeah. The Kamehameha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just about courage. Courage is all about change. Courage is the courage of setting boundaries, the courage of saying, I gotta go, the courage of putting yourself in your needs in front of the expectations of those around you, and the courage of being okay with being alone. It's all just rooted in that sort of courage. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? Like, Lutheran is masculine, I guess, because it takes courage. Courage is masculine. I don't know. I've known a lot of really courageous women. I guess they were masculine too. I don't really know what that means, but like, courage is a state, right? That takes practice, but it's something that you can also reach for when things get shaky. And I think that's really what sums up what we're talking about here. The courage to, look at the truth and see behind the veil of our government and see what is actually running the world, which is these aliens.
Ground yourself in reality. Don't look to the skies. There are no answers up there.
No. And let go of the circus. Yeah. And embrace the uncertainty of tomorrow. Which is where we'll find out.
If that's even real.
All right, that's it. I'm gone. I'm done. I'm tired of this. I'll see you.
Axios.
Keep fighting the good fight.